Thank you. You all may be seated. My understanding is that the jury is being assembled. It just may be a minute or two, so we'll all jump back up in a minute. Oh, I have jury instructions to hand out to everybody. Can you give one of these to Attorney Testifies side? As soon as they're ready, they can come in. Yeah. Okay.
Please rise, jury entering. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for all being prompt this morning and being on time. Sorry we weren't able to start right on time, but these things happen. As I told you at the close yesterday, the defendant is not required to put on a defense if he doesn't choose to, but in this case I'm being told the defense has opted to put on a defense, and my understanding is that the first witness that they're going to call is the defendant himself, and so we are ready to proceed. Counsel, you may inquire.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Could you swear Jason in full,
My
please?
goodness. You're right. You raise your right hand. You swear that any testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. I do. You may be seated, and just try to keep your voice up so everyone can hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. Can everybody hear me? Thank you.
First, let me get through some formalities here. Could you state your name and spell your last name for the jury, please?
My name is Jason Levesque, Levesque.
And you just heard the judge explaining that, of course, we don't have the burden to put on any evidence.
Yes.
Are you freely, voluntarily, wanting to testify for this jury today?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you some background questions so the jury gets to know you a little bit. Where were you born?
I was born in Rochester, New Hampshire at Frisbee Memorial Hospital.
And have you lived in this area all your life?
All 45 years.
Who else lives in the Rochester area?
My daughter, she resides with me, and my two parents, they live downstairs at my house.
The jury went out on a view, you know that, you were with us. And your house is which number?
My house is number 41 Summer Street.
Okay, and just again for the record, could you describe it so everybody has a clear picture of what we're talking about?
As in the property?
Yeah.
My house was the one when we were coming from the traffic lights. It would be the first house that we viewed with the front porch with the steps. The driveway's to the right-hand side. There's some landscaping out front. There's a fence that directly follows the right-hand side of my driveway, and there's a garage at the back.
And again, you stated that your daughter lives with you and your parents. And can you give us some position? Where would your parents be in that house if the jury's looking at it square?
If you're looking at the front of the house, it's a duplex, and my parents live downstairs. So they're getting older, so we put it that way. That way they don't have to deal with any stairs. And my daughter and I reside upstairs in the upstairs apartment.
Okay. And I guess there was a porch area there and steps that go up to the porch area of the house?
That is correct. The front entry is on the front of the house where there's a porch, and the front steps go up to the front door, which you can access both the upstairs and downstairs.
All right, so we're going to get to that positioning in a few minutes, but I just want to make it clear it's your parents that live right there, right, basically on the street.
That's correct. Their bedroom is the front room of that downstairs apartment. Their beds are right there at the window.
Now, you mentioned your daughter. What's her name?
Her name is Kira.
And how old is she?
She is 20 years old.
Can you give us a little history with her? I take it you're a single father?
I am.
And, how long have you and Kara been a team?
I received sole custody of my daughter when she was approximately 16 years old. She's lived with me all her life. We've always lived together. However, there is some issues with her mother, and her mother's left the house, and I received sole custody of her, I believe, approximately 15 or 16. It was 2019.
And she's been with you exclusively since then?
Yes.
And, can you generally just tell the jury what kind of relationship you have with her?
Sorry. My daughter and I have a very close relationship ever since she was a young child. She would go out with me when I was doing heating. She would on call with me, or if we were plowing, she'd go plowing with me.
You okay?
Yeah. She used to operate the plow for me even when she was younger. She used to find great fun in that. As she got older, she started working. So she didn't want to drive. She had a little accident when she was learning how to drive, went through my parents' garage door at their previous house. So until she was 18, she didn't get a license. So I had to drive her back and forth to Rye every day for her job. Also, when she was in high school, she did an internship as a teacher at an elementary school in town. So I used to have to drive her there every day. Her and I were very close. Always have been.
Where did she go to school?
She went to elementary school at Chamberlain Street School in Rochester, then to Rochester Middle School. Then she graduated Spalding in, I believe it was 2 years ago. I think it was 2022. And then she moved on to Southern New Hampshire University. Right now she's taking a pause from college, but I believe she's enrolled to start at the University of Arkansas.
Very proud of her.
I am very proud of her. I'm sorry.
You talked about your neighbors a little bit, okay?
Okay.
The jury has heard a couple of folks, just two of them that live next door to you. Did you have any kind of relationship with your neighbors of any significance?
Which ones?
Well, let's go through Kyle's daughter took the stand. You saw her.
I did, yes.
Did you know her or have any interaction with her ever before?
I did not know that there was a young female living there, no.
And again, how long have you lived in that house?
I lived in that house 20 years.
20 years.
Yep.
And then you saw, I think she's referred to as Kyle's girlfriend, the mother of the child. And you saw her testify as well.
That's correct.
Did you have any interaction with her?
I did not have any interaction. However, I did know that she did live there. I frequently saw her coming and going.
But not even a hello or anything like that?
No.
Now, I want to ask you about the other person that lived there, and that's Kyle himself. Did you have any kind of relationship with him?
Before that evening, I did have one interaction. That would be in sometime, probably October or November. In the fall, I was out front pressure washing my house, and a gentleman came out of that driveway, was running around, acting kind of crazy, looked at me and said, "You fucking rat, I'll kill you and your family."
Okay, let's hold on here a second. This is October, November of 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were in front of your house doing some chore. Something.
Yes.
Had you had any kind of contact that would have elicited that kind of reaction from him prior to him coming over and confronting you?
No, I did not even know that he lived there. I'd only seen his girlfriend, or Angela, was the only person I'd ever seen coming and going from there.
And again, explain for the jury just what this guy did.
He was running around in his driveway very erratically, and said, "You fucking rat, I'm going to kill you and your family." It just kept moving back and forth. So at that point, I decided it was just best to go in the house and leave the situation, not to antagonize him or even engage with him, not knowing who he was or what was going on. I then went inside and told my parents, just keep the blinds closed on that side of the house. Hopefully he'll just leave us alone after that.
Right, so you went inside and you informed your folks of that.
That's correct.
And did something happen just shortly after that as well?
Later on that evening, I was outside working in my garage. I had exited the garage to go into the house, and he and another gentleman were walking by. He came into the driveway and said, "You fucking rat, I'm going to kill you and your family." At that time, I went back into the garage and closed the door to, again, not engage with him.
So, I mean, we've heard that, I mean, was that a threat towards you
Yes.
and your family?
Yes.
Nothing conditional about that?
No, sir.
And did you understand it as a threat?
I did.
And how did that impact you? How did that stay with you?
It made me nervous. At that point, after that, I installed some security lights, some security cameras. That way I could keep an eye on things, and just, I didn't know who he was or what it was with him that he didn't like me, but I wanted to be more vigilant after that to make sure I was aware of my surroundings.
So after that, what did you do?
I installed some security cameras and some security lights, motion lights, so if somebody comes on my property, it lights up at night so I can see there's somebody there.
Now, we pointed out some cameras at your place when the jury was taking a view. Were those some of the cameras you installed because of that event?
Yes, I installed 12 cameras, 2 1-terabyte hard drives. Each camera is covered by another camera, and every entry to the house is covered by a camera.
And that was triggered because of that content?
Yes, sir.
Did you also alter any behavior with regard to your daughter?
I did.
Can you explain that?
After that, my daughter, she works at the pizza place. She had been driving at this point. She comes home at night. She had been aware of the altercation. I was concerned, and she was concerned about coming in the front door, seeing as the property's right there. So she would call me when she was on her way home, and I'd meet her at the door and make sure, or go out to the car and make sure she got in the house safely.
So you basically were escorting her in after work?
That is correct.
She would call you in the driveway and you'd go down and get her?
She typically called me coming down Eastern Avenue, which is the road right there by the post office.
Okay. And then you'd meet her outside?
That's correct.
Okay, let me jump to, I'm actually going to jump to April 3rd. We've been hearing a lot about April 4th, but wow, but your day actually started April 3rd and it was continuous, right?
That is correct.
So why don't you explain to the jury about what time did you get up on April 3rd, the day before the shooting?
I woke up around, I believe, 8 o'clock. I had some breakfast. I was redoing my dining room, doing floor and painting. I wanted to try and get the painting done before I went to work. I knew that snow was coming. However, we had not got a time that we were supposed to start yet. So I pretty much took the day and I finished cutting in all the dining room and doing the painting around there. It was approximately 6 o'clock in the evening. I received a text from my boss saying, looks like start time is going to be 10 p.m. I'd like you to do what we call a sniffer route, go around and start driving through the properties, seeing if there's snow accumulating on the ground, and seeing when we should start calling in other people to take care of those properties.
Okay, so between 8 and 6 in the evening on the 3rd, had you taken a nap or rested or anything like that?
No, I did not. I anticipated the snow starting much later, so I figured I'd have some time, but I didn't really have time. After he called, I needed to clean up all my supplies, have something to eat, and get ready.
All right. So at or around 10 o'clock, what do you do?
10 o'clock, just before 10 o'clock, I'd say maybe quarter of, I take my vehicle out of the garage. I put my parents' vehicle in the garage so they don't have to worry about cleaning snow off of it. Then I drive to Home Depot, where my plow truck is parked behind there, where our salt shed is. I start my truck. I go over my pre-trip inspection to make sure my truck's safe for operation, make sure it has oil in it, coolant, windshield washer fluid. I then go over and start the front end loader. I let that warm up. I go in, I log into my tablet so I can log into the application site photos, which keeps track of my time card. It also keeps track of where I am plowing and salting. I then went to the loader. I grabbed 2-3 buckets of salt. I filled up my truck, covered over the salt, made contact with my boss, let him know I was ready to go. He said, all right, start running your route.
Okay. Up until that point in time, had you gotten any sleep?
No, sir.
Sounds like it was very active at the beginning at 10 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah.
Who do you work for, by the way? I don't know if we ever covered
I work for North Atlantic Snow.
that. And how long have you been working for them?
This would have been last year was my third season.
Third season?
That's correct.
When it's not snowing, how do you make a living?
When it's not snowing, I do car audio and electronic installs.
Where do you do that?
I do some on the side at my house. I also work from time to time for Speed of Sound in Somersworth.
All right. So, what was your agenda starting at 10 o'clock? What were your jobs? Give the jury an idea of just what you do. I mean,
Okay.
most of us are in bed when you guys are out doing this.
Correct.
All right. What's going on?
So we do all commercial application or commercial properties. We do big box stores, like I said, we start at Home Depot. We also have government, we do district courts. We do healthcare facilities. We do urgent cares, hospitals. We do pharmacies, Walgreens. We do gas stations. We have Cumberland Farms. We have Irving. We have auto parts stores. I have Advanced Auto Parts. We do properties for Rochester Housing Authority. We have 4 or 5 of those in Rochester. We also do for the Postal Service, United Postal Service in Gonick and in Rochester. I also service the Lee Urgent Care, Lee Dollar General, Lee Walgreens, Lee Aroma Joe's, and then there's also condo associations we do work for in Rochester.
All right. So you got a lot of contracts.
We do, approximately probably 45 in the Rochester area.
How many do you have to serve?
So what happens is when we start out, I'm the main person for the company when it comes to going out to start with. I go around and start running all of the properties. As soon as it starts snowing heavier or more help is needed, we'll call in our subcontractors. With it snowing, there's no way one person could take care of all those properties. So as it starts snowing heavier, I condense my route down to a couple of gas stations, the Irving on Columbus Avenue, the Advanced Auto Parts on Columbus Avenue, the 2 Rochester Housing Authority properties off of Brock Street, the Gonick Post Office, the Gonick Circle K or Irving, and Bramber 2 Condo Association on Old Dover Road.
All right, so now we're into April 4th, correct?
Yes.
And have you been plowing all day?
I'd been plowing all night of April 3rd into April 4th in the morning. During the afternoon, snow slowed down a little bit, so we got to do some cleaning up and maybe applying some salt. And then April 4th in the evening, it started coming down pretty well, which that evening was the first time I've ever experienced thunder snow. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it was coming down at a very heavy clip.
Again, had you gotten any sleep?
No, sir.
At some point in time, did things slow down? Did you get to start thinking maybe it's time to go home?
So later on in the day on April 4th, it definitely started to slow down. I got a call from my boss, I'd say around 9 o'clock. He asked me if I had any salt left on my truck. I said I did. He said, well, if you can go and put a heavy application down on Hannaford on Milton Road, after that you can go, take a break. We're going to be meeting back at Home Depot at 2 a.m. to start running a salt route and coordinating what we're going to do for cleanups for the day.
Okay. So you were getting ready to wrap it up for a while?
That's correct.
What was your plan? How were you going to go about finishing your evening?
I had brought my daughter to work. I did forget about that. I brought my daughter to work the day earlier that day. I don't want her driving in the snow. There's no reason to. I'm out and about in a 4-wheel drive pickup truck. No reason for her to be driving. So she was getting out of work at 10 o'clock. So I was going to Shortyville Plaza over in East Rochester to pick her up and then head home.
Okay. And where does she work?
She works at Rochester House of Pizza.
So in fact, did you pick her up that evening?
I did.
And was it at around 10 o'clock?
It was around 10 o'clock.
And what did you guys do after you picked her up?
Well, she got in the truck. You know, we said, how's it going? Good. We started heading down Eastern Avenue. We turned on Summer Street. And then I came up to the house.
Okay. Jason, at this time, we're going to play a video. And with the court's permission, if he could get closer to the television, he has an eyesight problem.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Anybody sit right here?
Okay, we're going to start this. I'm going to ask you questions as we move along. You recognize that area?
I do. This is my house right here. This is my front porch, my front steps. That's the utility pole that we saw when we were out there.
Okay. And the utility pole, that's become kind of a focal point. Where is that actually located?
So that utility pole is approximately even with the post on my steps right there. Somewhere around that area. This is a landscaping timber with approximately 4 to 6 feet of grass that's on my property. Landscaping timber runs along the property that runs before the free zone.
So how far in toward your house is that pole?
In reference to 43 or towards my house?
Well, I mean, in reference to the driveway.
It's approximately, I'd say, 6 feet to where the driveway starts. Actually, to the pavement, it's probably about 10 feet. There's a small grassy area on their property as well.
All right. Okay.
Do you want me to tell you?
Who's that guy?
That's me. I'm pulling up. Before I start plowing any property, I assess the property to see where the old snow bankings are, if anybody's been there to plow it. Even though it's my house, I do have my neighbor at 39, he helps me manage the snow. I noticed that the banking is still there from the plow, so I'm going to back up. I'm going to take most of that snow and plow it into the area of the fence at 39 Summer Street. We're in agreement that because I don't have a lot of place to put snow, I can put the banking there.
All right, so when you're banking snow away from your property, it's going toward 39.
39, that's correct.
Does it ever go toward the home of Kyle Violette?
Not at this point. I want to take most of my banking. As you see, I'm going to come in and grab it again and bring it over and put it on the lawn of 39. Because there's no place to put snow over. As this continues, you'll see when I turn the truck around, I'm trying to pick up the small amount of snow that's right here on the sidewalk. And you'll get a better view from the other camera. The sidewalk is clear by the city. And the snow spills out the side of the plow. I want to clean that up so I have a clean sidewalk there.
Okay.
And that's when I bring it to right here, a small bank, just what's spilled out right there.
Okay.
But I want the majority of the snow to go that way because he also coordinates with me. We take most of the banking from in front of his house and we bring it behind his house to the park.
You're talking about
39, number 39, that's correct.
All right, let's watch this for a second. Everybody see okay?
As you see, I'm slowly trying to collect the snow with the plow V. That way I don't make a mess of what the city's done, but I'm trying to grab all the snow.
Okay.
If I leave a banking there, when it melts and refreezes, it becomes icy, or it's water we have to get through to get in our house.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Did anybody ever ask you, did Kyle ever ask you to plow his driveway or plow out in front of his house or anything?
No, sir.
Did anybody from that property ever ask you?
No, sir. Hold on that note, there may have been a conversation with a lady that lived over there another time about they had plowed some snow up on here and my mother had a Japanese maple there. And I asked them, be careful of that. Please don't plow the snow right there. They could use the rest of it to put snow if they'd like, but I asked them not to bother that tree. Okay. And I believe she had asked me if I could plow their driveway every storm. And I said, I work for a commercial company, I can't do residential. However, if you ask, I would probably open at the end of the driveway for you, but I can't make it an account.
Now, I see, we can't hear anything, but cars are going by the road.
Yes. Now you see I've turned around, I've had my plow bead, and I'm coming to grab whatever's spilled out of the side of the plow on the sidewalk and make a small banking right there at the telephone pole.
And that's just to clean things up.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what's spilled over on the street side of the plow, and then I'll come in and grab what's spilled over on the house side.
Can we stop it for a second? Just some mechanics with regard to your rig. What year is it? What model is it? What's it equipped with?
So it is not my personal vehicle, so I have to try and jog my memory. I believe it's 2019 or 2021 Ford F550. It's a turbo diesel. It has a 9.5-foot Fisher stainless steel V-plow on it. It has a Boss spreader. That's for the salt. It's got the flashing lights. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to a point. I want to ask you, you said it's a four-wheel drive vehicle. You mentioned that earlier.
It is, yes. It's so it's a commercial vehicle, so it doesn't have the convenient push button you'd have like in a regular vehicle that you would drive, say anybody else. Because of the amount of weight the vehicle has to it, I believe that's why it has the manual locking hubs on it.
Okay.
So you have to lock the hubs, then you have to shift the transfer piece.
Okay, let's continue.
In here, I'm trying to clean up this little over. That's the telephone pole. Again, I'm not reaching the telephone pole with the plow. Again, just making a fast trying to clean up what's still out.
Okay.
There's a telephone pole going down the bridge. Wow. Now I'm coming in closer to the landscaping, try and get what's on the sidewalk, keep it clean. Again, I haven't made it past the telephone pole.
At any point, did you distribute any of that snow on Violette driveway?
No, sir. Here I am, opening the door.
Okay, if we can stop right there. You're opening the door. What's the reason we can stop right there?
The reason is I'm going out to engage the hubs so I can put it in four-wheel drive. As I had mentioned earlier, my boss called and asked me to go and put an application in for it, so I had no salt in the vehicle. Typically, we keep our salt full so that you use the weight of the vehicle to push the snow and you're not being hard on the equipment. The weight of the vehicle will do most of the work for you, as opposed to if you have like a half-ton truck or three-quarter-ton truck, you really need to put some effort into moving this. But a vehicle that size with all the weight in the back, it effortlessly pushes this. So I'm getting ready to back drive my driveway without any weight in the back. The wheels are just going to spin there. So when I put in four-wheel drive, I'm able to move that weight back, the snow backwards, without having the weight in the back.
Okay, so it was your intention then to lock the hubs, right?
That's correct.
And then you were going to continue on with some plowing.
That's correct.
And what plowing was it your intent to continue doing?
At this point, once I had the hubs locked, my intent was to go into my driveway, approximately a vehicle length or more, and back drag it out, and then bank it up over onto 39, the grass at 39. Again, pull forward almost to the garage, drag that back out to the sidewalk, push it to 39, and then do that also by the fence. Again, a small back drag, and then the rest of the back drag, and thank you.
Right. Then, I assume, then call it a night.
Yes, then go in and go to sleep fine.
Okay, and before we start it up again, we see an individual in the driveway. Did you notice the individual at that point in time when you were getting out of the truck?
When I was getting out of the truck, I did not notice anything.
And can you tell the jury, why don't we roll it? Why don't you tell the jury when you first noticed this individual?
From this video, I'm not exactly sure when, but I obviously kneeled down to walk. I don't pause it for a moment.
You know,
So I don't believe I've seen him at this point because I wouldn't have kneeled down to my hub to lock the hub if I would have seen an individual approaching, especially after the interaction in October, November. So I'm going to have to make an assumption. I don't know for sure, but at this point I don't believe I've noticed him because I would have kept my eyes on him.
how did it come to your attention that somebody was approaching?
When I stood up, I noticed there was a gentleman approaching me.
Were you up right there?
No, it looks to me that I'm still bent down locking the hub.
Okay, how do we continue?
I'm standing up now.
Okay, hold it. And that would have been the initial confrontation?
Yeah, it looks like I did bend back down. Again, trying to keep up with how it's playing. But he has not approached me yet. He's still working towards me. Okay, now I've stood back up.
Okay. Were you surprised to see him?
I was very surprised.
Had you done anything to cause him any agitation prior to that confrontation?
No, sir. I had not had any interaction with that evening at all.
When he came right up to you, can you tell the jury if he said anything to you?
He said, if you put any stone in front of my house, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Did that make any sense to you at all?
No, it did not. I had not moved any stone in front of his house.
Now, we've been talking, and we've seen this video a few times, and we're trying to describe just how close he was. We're going to have other videos, but can you describe to the jury how close he was to you?
When he made his initial approach to me, he was finding a resting spot with his nose up against my face.
I mean, I'm going to walk up to you, and you tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Got it?
Absolutely.
I'm walking. Which side did he approach you?
He approached me on this side.
Still closer?
Closer.
Can't get it. It's too big. How about there?
Here you go.
He actually touched you.
Yes, sir.
Touched you with his face?
Yes.
How'd that make you feel, Jay?
Uncomfortable?
Feel good.
Absolutely.
Do you have any idea what this guy was going to do?
I did not.
So he touches you with his body right on your face, and he says he's going to fucking kill you?
That's correct. In my family.
Did this give you a little flashback of October or November?
It,
Again, while this was going on, was your daughter with you?
she was.
And where was she?
She was in the passenger seat.
She was staying in the truck, from what you know?
I believe so, yes.
So this guy's up against you, literally, flesh on flesh, right?
Yes.
And is he calmly saying things, or what's his tone of voice?
No, he's extremely agitated. He's yelling at me. He repeated himself again. If you put stone in front of my yard, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
And again, did that make any sense at all?
It didn't. I was frozen. I didn't know what to think. I was confused by the whole thing.
Now, there's been testimony, of course we're going to get to some points here in your testimony, that you were carrying a firearm.
That is correct.
And is that typical of you in certain situations, or what's the deal?
It is behind Home Depot where we park the vehicles and we grab our salt. I had an altercation earlier that year, where a gentleman came out of nowhere, approached me as I was getting in the vehicle. He brandished a machete, and I was able to move away from him. We did call the police, and I believe they came and got him. There was no further interactions. But at that point, I decided that my safety was not worth putting in jeopardy going forward.
All right, so when you were doing night plowing jobs and going behind Home Depot, it was typical of you to carry a plow.
That's correct.
All right, and this night was no different.
That's correct.
Okay, why don't we run the film? Okay,
See
why don't
here,
we
he's-
hold it. I'll ask a question.
Want to rewind this a little bit?
Go back a little. What's going on here?
So now he's made a couple of threats about the snow to me. Then he starts on, "You don't believe me?" I'll
Okay,
kill
what do you mean by that? What does he say?
The first 2 times, or I believe he said, "If you put snow in front of my house, I'll kill you and your family." And then he continues with, "You don't believe me? I'll fucking kill you and your family."
That's what he said?
Yes.
Why don't we move? How many times does he approach you like that? Hold on.
It was, I believe, 3 or 4.
Is he saying the same stuff over and over?
He is.
How's that making you feel?
I'm still frozen. I wasn't sure I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like he was enraged. I felt like he was going to harm me and my family. But this time, I was hoping that hopefully he would just do it.
Why don't we go? Again, hold it. Is that another interaction?
That was another interaction where he came right up to my face, nose to face, and threatened to kill me and my family.
Did that have anything to do with snow at the time, or was it just threatening?
Not after the first time or two. He came just, "You don't believe me? I'll kill you and your family." The snow was no longer a factor. Now it was just, he was angry. He wanted to hurt me and my family.
Why don't we go? Okay, he's backing off here,
He is.
and he stopped.
He did.
Now what happened?
Now he's pointing at me.
What's he saying?
He's saying, "I'm going to kill you and your family.
Stop.
You don't fucking believe me?"
Okay. Now what's going on? in your head?
He's approaching me again, telling me that he's going to kill me and my family.
You believe in him?
I am now.
All right, why don't we run it? Okay,
Now-
is that when you approach him? Stop.
Yeah, I think you should probably go back, yeah.
Yep, why don't we go back? Start there.
So now he's approaching me again. Now I've decided the threat is real. Instead of going home, he's now approaching me again. I drew my firearm, and I fired at him.
All right. Did you even know, let's get straight with this, did you even aim or anything like that?
To the best of my ability, I aimed at the object coming at me.
All right.
Or the person, I should say, object person coming at me.
All right. And what do you see after you fire that first shot?
I see him go down.
We should start it up. And
I
then
see-
what? Hold it.
Then I see there was a pause, kind of surprised by the whole thing that happened, I kind of blanked out when I fired the first shot. Then it was like a flash of TV, the TV goes up, comes back on. I saw him getting up, heading towards my front steps, and then I fired again.
Now, there's been some question as to how many shots you fired and so forth. And we played this video, we played videos in slow motion and everything else.
Yes,
Would you agree things happened fairly quickly?
it happened extremely quickly.
Can you tell the jury if you even remember pulling the trigger 5 more times?
I don't remember pulling the trigger the first time, and I don't remember carrying a gunshot. Any of them.
But I mean, obviously, you know you used the firearm.
Yes.
How did you come to the conclusion that 5 shots or 6 shots were fired?
I know that there was one in the chamber, 5 in the magazine, and when I was done, the slide was jacked, which would indicate that the firearm was empty.
Okay. And that tipped you off that you had emptied it?
That is correct.
Why don't we play it through a little bit here? As you're going back, he's still moving?
Yep, I saw him crawling that way. I heard the female coming from over here. I noticed they did not go to my steps. So at this time, I pay attention to what they're doing. They see another female coming. I go back to the truck to check on my daughter.
So you check on your daughter, and then what do you do?
Check on my daughter. I'm trying to process what's all just happened. I get in the truck. Walk in. I said, "I'm sorry. You have to see that." She said, "No, you're just protecting me." I go to put the truck in drive mode in the driveway. She says to me, "What are you doing?" And I made a poor joke. Should we run? As I was driving the driveway. It was an ill-placed joke, but at the time I was kind of in shock, and I guess I was using something to lighten the situation best.
Why don't we stop it, and why don't you resume the witness?
Counsel, just so the record's clear, I know that all three of these videos are all contained on exhibit number 2, I believe.
It's states two that we're utilizing right.
And this is the video
This will
shot from 43 Summer Street.
It'll indicate 43 South.
I just want to make that clear for the record. That's the tricky part where all three videos are on one video.
Yeah, it's on one exhibit. When you get back, there will be one flash drive.
Thank you.
And then there'll be 3 others. Thank you, Jay. So you get back into your driveway, and what do you do there?
Get back in my driveway. Again, when I got back in the truck, I ejected the magazine from the firearm, put them both on my dashboard.
And why did you do that?
What's that?
Why did you do that?
Because I knew that the police were coming. I wanted to make sure the firearm was safe. My daughter's in the vehicle. The police are coming. I don't want to have the firearm on me in case they get some kind of, mixed signal as to what's going on and happen to fire upon me. So I wanted to make sure the firearm was rendered safe at that time. I also had another magazine on me, which I put in the top pocket of my backpack.
All right, so you unloaded. You made the firearm safe. We heard it's a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol, correct?
It is a Glock 43 subcompact.
And by subcompact, what that means is a smaller version.
Absolutely, yes.
And you popped the magazine from it, right?
I ejected the magazine, that's correct.
Separated the magazine from the frame itself.
That is correct.
And then you placed them on the dash.
I did.
And then you had an additional magazine, and where was that located?
That was located in my pocket.
So you had more ammunition, more live ammunition on you.
That is correct.
And you took that, and where'd you put it?
I put it in the top pocket of my backpack. That way it was not resting with the gun. I didn't think it'd be a wise idea to put more live ammunition next to the gun, seeing as I was going to be exiting the vehicle. My daughter was left in there, and the police were coming.
Okay, so everything was made safe, and did you wait for the police to come?
I did.
Prior to the police coming, did you make any attempts to contact emergency personnel?
So I was in the process of dialing 911 when I saw in my rearview mirror, I saw blue lights coming. So at that point, I discontinued the call. I don't believe I even hit send on it, but I'm not sure.
Well, we heard your daughter testify the same thing. Did you actually have the phone out?
Oh, I had the phone in my hand. That's correct.
All right. Now the police come, and what do you do?
As soon as I see that the officers have exited their vehicles and they're behind my vehicle, I step out with my hands up, and I start walking to the back of the truck. When I get to approximately the back of the truck where the the Salter is located, I have 2 officers, a male and a female. Both of them are directing me in 2 different ways. One is saying, "Get down on the ground." The other one is saying, "Walk towards me."
Okay, so at that point, a little bit confused.
I was a little confused, but again, they're both pointing a firearm at me, so I said, "I can only listen to one of you. So whichever one of you would like to direct me, I will listen to." The female then stopped talking, and the male officer directed me to walk towards him with my hands above my head.
And did you do everything they asked you to do?
I did.
Did you make any statements to them in the driveway, before you even got officially over to the Rochester PD? What was going on?
I don't believe I did make any statement, or didn't say anything to them in the driveway. When I got into the police cruiser, I did apologize to whoever was sitting in the front seat. I don't know that it was an officer. I did apologize for having to come out that night and for the incident that transpired.
And again, we're talking now somewhere around 10:20-ish in the evening when all this stuff starts breaking right in front of your house when you're actually picked up, placed in cruise.
That's correct.
And again, just to reiterate, any sleep between 8 a.m. in the morning the previous day and 10:20?
No, sir. I had, like I said, I clocked in at about around 10 p.m., and I didn't take any breaks or anything. I was clocked in from 10 to 10, 24 hours straight.
Now, the jury saw a film clip that we introduced in video that would have shown you being processed or actually transported to the Rochester Police Department.
That is correct.
You remember that ride?
Yes, I do.
How were you feeling at that?
Well, I was feeling exhausted. By that time, when I was on my way home, all I was hoping for was my bed. When you work that long, you start getting to the point where all you're thinking about is getting to a point to lay down. So I was exhausted, and I was definitely a little frustrated that I wasn't going to lay down.
Your Honor, can we approach you?
Yes, you may. Take a break. We do have to take a lunch break at some point. We're going to stop now, and we're going to take our hour first lunch break. And so we'll be back here at 1 o'clock. All right? Jury can be excused.
Please rise.
Handed out my jury instructions. You could use the lunch hour, take some time to take a look at those. And if you have some points you want to raise, we can get back some lunch, we can get back a couple minutes before 1. And do that, that would be great. Huh. I missed that. I'm sorry. Jury instructions, right. Do you have any? All right. Jury got off, God. She'll
She told me not to do anything.
All right. Thank you, Bob. We'll see you back here.
Whatever you want. I reviewed, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some, I think, misspoke a couple.
My hope is, if the next drug lunch are out,
That's fine.
Line them up.
Please be seated.
If I may, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you. Jason, let me backtrack just a bit. You recall getting to the police station?
I do.
And when you got to the police station, how would you describe your physical condition?
I was extremely tired. I was extremely shaken.
Were you in like the same condition then that you are like right now?
Definitely not. I am well rested, alert, and ready for today.
During the course of your interrogation with the police, you complained on a number of occasions of being hot or cold. Remember that?
I do.
What was going on there?
I was tired. I'd just gone through a lot. I started feeling a little bit dizzy when we were going up in the elevator. We got in the room. It was cold, then it was hot. I was extremely tired. I was definitely not with it, I guess you could say.
And you asked to rest a couple times?
Yes, that was the one thing that was on my mind the most was trying to get some sleep. It was hard to stay awake, to say the least.
But how many times did you nod off?
I don't really remember how many times. I know there's a few times. I know I asked to lay down. I remember waking up on the floor in the interview room. Much past that, I don't remember a whole lot about the interview. I was extremely surprised yesterday to find out it went on for 3.5 hours.
You didn't even know it went on that long?
No, sir. I thought my best recollection would have been probably approximately an hour.
So when we were discussing the length of time that the interview took, that came as a surprise to you even yesterday?
Yes, it did. I don't know how I stayed awake that long.
What's going through your mind when you were discussing this situation with the police?
I was scared. A lot had just happened. I wasn't clear on a lot of the things. I was trying to process it and help them get through it so we could figure out exactly what happened, and that way I could get home and get some rest.
So basically, you went there, you were going to give them a statement, and you're thinking, well, then I'm going to go home and just go to sleep.
Yes. That was my number one objective.
Now, during the course of the interrogation, you pointed out to the police that you had video cameras. Remember that?
I do.
And why'd you bring that up?
We were talking. We talked about another time when I had talked about a video camera capturing something in my house. And they said, "Oh, you have cameras?" I said, "Yes, I do." And they asked if they could get them. I said, "Of course you can." I gave them the location of where they're at, and I gave them the password to access them.
So you actually gave them the location and password access to the digital material.
Yes, I did. I have 2 different hard drives in the garage, one in the house. I told them exactly where they were, and I told them the password for both of them.
Why did you want them to have that?
Because I was having a hard time clearly remembering all. I knew that the videos would help clarify that for them.
And is that why you were sitting there for this interview to start with?
Absolutely.
Do you think you were in such a condition that night to give an accurate account of what took place?
I don't think so. I was extremely exhausted. Again, I was extremely surprised that I was awake for 3.5 hours at the police station. Well, I guess I wasn't awake the whole time. I did take a nap or two, I was told, but.
If I could, Your Honor, we'd like to show one more video, and then I'd like Jason to sit back just for a few more questions, and then I'll wrap it up. I think this is one that will be marked, has been marked as Defendant B.
Should I step down to the
If
TV?
you could, so you could direct us to the thing. And again, this is a clip that will go back to the deliberation. I'll ask you questions, Jason, as we move along, if need be. Okay? Okay, why don't we stop? Now, this video is a slow motion video. It's marked as Defendant B. And as we go through it, it may give us a better opportunity to make some identification. What do you see in this particular frame?
In this particular frame, I see This is my plow truck. This is the plow. This is snow banking in front of 39 Summer Street. This is my driveway right here. This is the bush that's in the landscaping at the front left of my property. It looks like this is Kyle right here. I believe it's kind of paused in a fuzzy frame. And I'm going to have to guess, I can't see myself right now, I'm right there, walking the house.
Okay, so you're actually bent down at that point in time?
I'm guessing so because I don't see myself in the frame, but I don't know how we got to this particular point. I think we can start that.
Yeah, we can go right back to the beginning.
Okay.
Go right back. Okay, here we go. Okay, hold it.
There's my header. So I'm hammering down at the hub, and that's Kyle approaching me right there.
Okay, so you're actually in a position where you're kneeling or crouching down, and he is erect and walking toward you.
That's correct. From looking at this, it looks like my view is partially, probably blocked by the plow right there.
Okay, yeah, you got that wing plow.
Right.
Okay, why don't we get it going? And
Now I'm
stop.
standing up.
Right there. Okay, is that the first time you're eyeball to eyeball with him?
Yes, it is. That's myself, that's my face, and that's Mr. Violette right there.
And is he saying anything to you at that point in time?
I believe he has already said to me something about if you plow snow in front of my house, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Okay, so this is the first initial threat, right?
That's correct.
Why don't we continue?
Did it
Stop.
approach me? Nope. Right
What's
there.
going on there?
Oh. Now, it looks like we're kissing, but that's me, that's him, we're face to face, his nose is touching my face, and he's expressing to me how he's going to kill me and my family for plowing snow.
Is that making any sense at all to you at that
No,
point?
it's going very fast. He's saying it, he's very animated, he's very upset.
Again, you and I did a little courtroom demonstration. It wasn't perfect, I'm sorry, I'm kind of vertically challenged, but the bottom line is that this guy, he's about 6 foot or so, your size,
Yes, I'd say probably exactly the same time.
and he's literally got part of his face literally on your face at this point.
That is correct.
And he's shouting threats.
That is correct.
How you feeling there?
Scared?
Keep going.
Then
He
moves.
backs off a little bit.
And then he points again, if you plow snow in my fucking driveway, I'll kill you and your fucking family.
All right, now he's walking away a little.
Yep.
Then what?
Now he's saying, you don't believe me? You don't fucking believe me? I'll kill you and your family.
Okay, that's when he says, stop. That's when he says, you don't believe me? You don't fucking believe me? I'll kill you and your family.
That's correct.
Didn't say anything about snow that time, did he?
No.
Now what? Now hold on, stop right there. Did you pull a firearm on him or anything at that point?
No, I did not.
Did you make any aggressive movement toward him at that point?
I did not. I didn't speak either. I still froze.
Now I know this is in slow motion. What's your estimate of how long that interaction actually took? By this time?
Maybe 2 seconds, 5 seconds.
Why don't we keep going? He's walking back now.
Yeah, now he's walking away.
Yeah. Keep going. Now what? What's he doing there? Stop.
Again, he's pointing you put snow in my driveway, I'm going to kill you and your family.
All right, so he's making that threat again.
That's correct.
Keep going. No making arm gestures. Stop.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you and your family.
How many times do you think he said something like that?
What did you?
Keep going. Okay. Pointing again. Stop.
You don't believe me?
He said what?
You don't believe me?
Now what? Let's go.
Now he's walking away.
Right.
He's moving. He's
Now
saying,
what?
I'm not exactly sure if he's saying something at that point, but he turned back around towards me. You can see him coming towards me.
Right.
I pulled my firearm, and I shot him.
Thank you. Should resume the seat. So, right before you pulled the firearm and pulled the trigger for the first time, he had walked away some distance.
He did.
And then all of a sudden he turned around again,
He did.
and he was walking toward you.
He was.
Do you know why?
I'm assuming that he wanted to play out his threat. I mean, he was coming back at me. That was my assumption.
And by the time he had come by for that last time, he had come after you how many times in your best estimation?
5 or 6.
I think they asked you in your interview whether you had aimed for any particular spot on his body.
I believe they might have. I'd have to reference the interview, but I believe it was a question they asked.
But I mean, right now, is your best recollection, were you taking aim at any specific part of his body?
No.
What was going through your mind? What were you trying to do?
I was just trying to neutralize the threat. The person who was coming at me, threatening me, I just wanted to stop the threat. I wanted to protect myself and my family.
Now, you saw in that first video, not this one, but the first video that once he got hit, he got down on the ground and he was scrambling around.
I did see that.
What was going through your mind then, if you can recall?
Again, what was going through my mind, what I can remember at that time, was it's like the TV shut off, then it came back on in a flash where I saw him on the ground, getting up on all fours and starting towards my front steps.
And that's when you discharged the firearm again?
That's when I discharged the firearm again.
Before I ask the next couple of questions, I just want to make sure a solid foundation here. Some folks have been in the service and have had actual combat experiences. Are you one of those kind of people?
No, sir.
Some folks, fortunately or unfortunately, have been engaged in actual combat situations where they had to discharge firearms at other human beings and strike them. Were you ever in that kind of situation before?
No, sir.
Some folks actually are avid hunters and they discharge firearms and they've shot game. Have you ever shot even like a chipmunk in your life?
No, sir.
Is this the first time you discharged a firearm in self-defense?
Yes, it was.
Is this the first time you discharged a firearm and struck a living, breathing being? You know?
Yes, it was.
Did you ever think you'd be in that kind of situation on April 4th, 2024?
No, I didn't.
Do you think about it a lot?
Every day. Sorry. Did you ever that day ever think you'd ever
ever hurt somebody as badly as you did?
No.
Let me ask you some bottom line questions. I'm going to let you go, okay?
Okay.
Prosecutor can ask all the questions. Did you go out there that night and try to kill Kyle Violette?
No, I didn't. I wish he would have just gone home when he first started walking that way.
Were you trying to inflict serious bodily injury on him or bodily injury at any point in time? Is that your intent?
No, it wasn't. I just didn't want him to hurt me or my family.
Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
No, I don't. Maybe tell me. Well,
Thank you.
Mr. Levesque, it's certainly obvious by now, but I think I already did an introduction. My name is Dr. Clark. I do have questions about some of the things you've heard, some of the things you did, and a number of the claims you've made, both to the police and today. Those will be the areas of my questions.
Absolutely.
But before we get into, what happened on the 4th and the facts of this case, you brought up with your lawyer a prior incident that I want to talk about. You made this claim today that 6 months before this happened, back in October of the previous year, you had an incident out in front of your house.
Somewhere between October and November, that's correct.
Approximately 6 months before this happened.
Somewhere around there.
Just to be clear, you indicated today that was this person out in front of your house was Kyle, right?
That is correct.
But here's one of the questions I have, is that when you were meeting with the police on the 4th and the 5th, you said you'd never seen Kyle before that date back in October, right?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
But you also said on the 4th that you couldn't even pick him out of a lineup, right?
I'd have to look at the transcript.
Sure. Judge, may I approach? I'm going to show you what's been marked as a State's Exhibit 29.
Sure.
And I'm going to direct your attention to page 143, line 9.
Give me just a moment.
Yeah.
Page 143, line what?
Yeah, so let's start at line 5. You say, look, this is to the Detective Garson. Line 2, you don't even know his name? No clue. And you go on to say, I've never had an interaction with him at all, ever, in my life. And you went on to say it at line 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And this is on April 4th. I wouldn't be able to pick, if you said, here's 3 people, pick one of them as your neighbor, I honestly wouldn't be able to pick him. Never seen him before. And so on the 4th, you couldn't pick out from 3 photos Kyle Violette, but you're claiming there was some incident 6 months earlier involving Kyle. Yeah?
That is correct. I also claimed I was surprised I was awake at that time.
Pardon me?
At this time at the interview at page 143?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised I was even awake at that time.
Okay, so your explanation for explaining to the detective that you wouldn't even be able to recognize Kyle is that you were tired then.
I'm guessing I don't remember this conversation. However, if it's there, then I said it.
Okay, and it's true you didn't have any prior interactions with Kyle.
Before October, November? No, I did not.
And so you said that, but that might be one of your tired statements.
Yes.
Okay. You also just claimed to this jury that, you know, it was this prior incident where he said I'm a rat and he threatened me, that caused you to get your video cameras. That's what you told the police. Excuse me, that's what you told this jury today, correct?
Yes, some of them, that's correct.
What?
Some of them, yes, that's correct. I've had previous video cameras, but the ones that they obtained, that's when I got them.
So how many more did you have and when did you have them?
Before, I was trying out different Wi-Fi cameras,
Yep.
particularly Wise. I had an issue with internet where they didn't connect all the time, so I went to a closed circuit setup.
Okay. Just to be clear, you did not claim to the police, you know, it was this prior incident that prompted me to get videos. You just referred to having videos, but back in July of 2023. That would be before the supposed incident next door.
That is correct. That's when I had the Wise cameras.
Okay. But that's not something you teased out with the police. You agree with me?
There was a lot going on that evening. There may be things that I didn't think were important at the time.
Okay. So this is just another incident where you didn't make a complete answer that might have been, you know, important to understand whether you really did react to a real threat in October.
I'm not sure what you're saying, but
What I'm asking is, look, you explained to the police that you had video back in July of the previous year, correct?
that is correct from a Wise camera.
And now you're claiming to the jury, oh, I got video after the incident in October, correct?
I did, because I was having trouble with the other system, so I got a closed circuit system.
And claiming that you reacted to this prior incident by getting more video is never something that you told the police, correct?
I don't recall if I told them that or not.
In fact, talking about this prior claim, you even told the police, look, it was because of this so-called prior threat that you started carrying your firearm.
Again, if you'd like to refer to what page that's on.
No problem. It is page 100, line 22, 23. Page 100. Line 23, you say, ever since that day, and the so-called prior threat, that day that he threatened me, I don't leave the house without him. And Garson asked you, had you carried prior to that day of the so-called threat? And you said, no, not really.
And again, I don't remember saying that, but obviously if it's there, I must have said it.
Well, not remember saying it now. You agree doesn't mean that was your claim to police, right? You did claim that to the police.
If it's in there, then yes, I did.
All right. And so what you didn't say is, oh, you know, I actually started, you didn't admit that you had actually started carrying a firearm well before any so-called encounter in front of your porch. It was the machete incident.
That is why. Again, the evening that this took place,
Yeah.
I was not in the best state of mind.
Understood.
Okay.
But you'd agree with me that you made it sound like there was a prior incident that caused you to take precautions like carrying a firearm, and that's not true.
The prior incident with Mr. Violette, or the
Yeah.
prior incident at Home Depot?
With Mr. Violette.
That was not the reason why I was carrying it.
Right, but that's what you told police. You made that claim.
I did in that, yes.
You made the claim that the reason you got video was the prior incident from Mr. Violette. But that's not true either, right? You had video.
I'm not sure what you're saying right at the moment.
You claimed to this jury that the reason you went out and got video was this so-called prior threat. Remember saying that on direct?
I do. That is why I got the current video equipment that I have.
Okay. Your explanation to the police was you'd already had it, and then when we were having this conversation, the reason you got it was because you were having Wi-Fi trouble.
Could you reference where here I told them I got it for that?
No, I'm just saying that you referenced it in July, which necessarily means it was before you had a incident, so-called incident with Mr. Violette in October.
In July, I did have Wi-Fi video cameras on my property.
You claim that this prior incident with the machete, while you're on the job, resulted in you calling 911, correct?
Actually, no. My manager, Mike Kelly, called 911.
Okay. You reported it to somebody.
That is correct.
And did he tell you he was calling 911?
Yes, he did.
And you certainly concurred with that.
That's correct.
Because you'd called 911 if something really did happen to you that you found threatening and violent and inappropriate, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But to be clear, you've never claimed that you called 911 or anyone else after this supposed incident with Mr. Violette 6 months before this event.
That is correct.
Yeah. You claimed to the jury that it was such a threat that you were concerned about your daughter, so much so that you had to supposedly escort her, but this threat wasn't serious enough to call 911.
Again, I didn't want to engage with him, and I didn't want to have the police come and then nothing happen, and then I have to deal with him later.
All right, so on the machete one, that was good enough to call. Here, the supposed threat to your daughter wasn't enough to provoke you to call the phone, call the police and say, we need to work something out here to mitigate risk about your daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
At that time, I decided it was not the appropriate action. I didn't want to enrage him in case something else happened.
And just to be clear, your claim about this prior incident in October, November, this involved a guy that you couldn't pick out of a lineup, and after hearing him outside in front of your place, you went inside to your home.
I went inside to my parents, yes.
You did not see where this man went, correct?
No, I did not.
And concerning, Mr. Violette, just to be clear, that this guy calls you a rat. You had never called the police for any reason on Mr. Violette, right?
That is correct.
And so this guy makes this claim, you can't pick this guy out of a lineup, and you go inside and the guy leaves. Concerning Mr. Violette, after that supposed incident in October, you can confirm that there were just no other incidents or contacts you had with Mr. Violette up until April 4th, correct?
That is correct.
You said, I might have seen him emptying his trash or something, right?
Yes?
But in other respects, there was no additional contacts, innocuous or otherwise, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And so that, I guess, brings us forward. Your claim that there was a threat 6 months earlier, nothing happened after that with this person outside.
That is correct.
And so now let's talk about the incident, okay?
Sure.
It sounds like there's really no dispute. I mean, we've seen it on 4 different camera angles. You just walked through it. You came home after picking up your daughter at work.
That's correct.
You took, 3 runs towards Mr. Violette's home at 43.
That's correct.
And you would explain to the police, your perception of that event was, pretty basic, right?
I believe so.
All right. And so this is an area that I want to get into, but at the sequence of events. But let's start at the very end, because I want to revisit something you said. You got into your truck after shooting Kyle, right?
That is correct.
And your claim is you got into the truck and pulled into your driveway, and you made a joke.
I did.
Your claim to this jury is you made a joke to your daughter,
I did.
19 at the time.
Yes.
Should I run?
Yes.
And you suggest to the jury, to this court, that was to make light of the whole situation?
To lighten the mood, yes.
At that very moment, Kyle is 30 feet from you, dying in the street. Yeah?
That is correct.
And you want to lighten the moment is your claim? Isn't it true that even in your state, you were struggling with the basic notion of what you had just done?
That is correct.
You told the police, let me just make sure I'm accurate with this, at 20. Line 5. This is in the after the fact.
Sorry, I missed the page. What was the page
Yeah,
number?
20, line 5.
On what page?
What?
What page?
20, line 5.
Oh, 20, line 5, sorry.
No, my fault.
Oh,
Page 20, line 5.
Thank you.
You're talking to Garston, and you say, thinking back and you're looking back on shooting him, and you say, I made a bad decision. And you struggle with it. I don't know if I made a bad decision. This is the moment and the issue you're claiming you made light of?
That's correct.
You start by apologizing to Kira, saying, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And isn't it true that not in a light, frivolous effort to lighten the mood, you were really concerned that you'd made a very bad decision, and you asked her whether you should run?
I was not looking for guidance in that. Like I said, it was an ill-made joke.
And she
I was not-
responded to you, didn't she? She said, not, ha, 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 that's a good one, Dad. She said, no, you shouldn't run, in a very serious.
That's correct.
And you responded again and say, well, what should I do? That wasn't a joke, right?
I don't remember that.
You're not saying it didn't happen.
I don't recall.
You recall talking to Kira.
I do recall talking to Kira.
And you're saying you don't remember saying, to your question, well, what should I do? You should stay. This is your path. I don't know what you should do, but this is your path. Remember that?
I do not remember those words, no.
Mr. Levesque, isn't it just true? I mean, as a matter of common sense, you asked Kira whether you should run because you knew what you did was wrong and you didn't want to face the consequences of it.
That is incorrect.
Then let's return to your plowing. You had told the police that you moved the snow into the front part of the driveway of my neighbor, where my neighbor's grass is, and then backed up, correct?
That is correct.
And look, I don't want to make too much of the snow thing, but you would just describe to the jury just not having any basis to even understand what Kyle was saying about not moving snow, correct?
I was referencing 39 Summer Street.
Okay. And so you can confirm, though, after the, quote, first snowstorm of that year, Kyle had approached you about putting snow on his property, and the response was, hey, something to the effect of, look, it'll melt.
That's incorrect. I've never had a discussion with Kyle before that evening about snow.
Did somebody else, do you know whether anybody else in your family did?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Like Kira?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. So your claim is that there hadn't been any discussions about where snow was to be deposited or not, right?
Could you be a little more clear about exactly what you're talking about and when?
Yeah, at any time prior to this night, there hadn't been any discussions, any disputes about where you put snow with respect to Kyle's property.
With Kyle?
Yeah.
Not with Kyle, no.
There had been this issue that you brought up about snow next to your maple tree.
That is correct. Not with Kyle.
Okay. But it happens that Kyle came out while you were, we can agree, still in the middle of this plowing operation.
That is correct.
Okay. You described to the police and to the jury getting out of your truck to manually adjust the hub so it went into four-wheel,
Yes.
and that you were going to back drag the snow out.
That is correct.
Wherever you were going to put that snow had just not yet happened, correct?
I hadn't even backdragged the snow yet.
So it hadn't happened yet.
That's
Wherever
correct.
you were going to put it hadn't happened yet.
That's correct.
And here's the next thing that happens. You actually see Kyle coming out of his driveway, correct?
I saw Kyle approaching at some point.
Well, he was in his driveway, correct?
I'm not exactly sure what point it was.
Why don't you turn to page 34, line 4. Got it?
I do.
And you explained to Officer Garston you are manually locking his hubs, they're electric, so I have to do that. And quote, that's when he came up the driveway.
That is correct.
So you saw him from, I don't know, 40 feet away at the first instance.
That's what that says.
What?
That's what that says. I don't remember that, but that's what that says.
Oh, I'm sorry, you don't remember the first time seeing Kyle?
I do not remember seeing him in the driveway.
All right, do you can confirm for the jury that you went on to describe corroborated details, like down at the bottom of page 34. Yeah, and there I saw him come from. When I finally see him coming out of the driveway, you say it again, that's when you see him, right?
It does say that. And
You
again,
even describe what he's doing. He's putting on his shirt.
yes, I do.
He was shirtless, so he was putting on his shirt.
Yes, I do. You asked me if I remembered that. I do not remember that. However, yes, I did state that.
Then I guess there's this tension of you being tired that night with the issue of memory. You agree with me that's much closer in time to these events than your testimony today.
Yes, it was.
You agreed with me that that is a responsive statement to the officer. Well, you know, when did you see him? Yeah?
Yes.
You agree with me that that's a detailed statement about where you saw him and what his actions were.
I was doing my best to try and piece together what I remembered.
You did a good job. I mean, it's corroborated that he was coming out of his driveway putting his shirt on, right?
Yes, we saw the video. Yes, he was.
And so you'd agree with me. You got that one right.
Yes.
And so he's coming out of his driveway. You see him from this some 40 feet away. And just to confirm, you can see his hands, correct?
I don't remember.
Didn't see any weapons, correct?
Again, no, I did not see any weapons.
And as he's approaching that distance between his driveway when you first see him, you don't actually remember or know what he was saying, if anything, correct?
Sorry, could you ask me the question one more time?
Yeah, as he's approaching from the driveway, you don't actually know what he was saying, if anything, correct?
In the very beginning, I'm not sure if he had been yelling or what he had been saying. It wasn't until he was up closer to me that I had really started understanding what he was saying.
Okay, so when he's walking over, you're not claiming that he said anything at that point, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
You could hear a noise coming. You realized he's coming because you saw him.
I believe so.
And you actually described not only him putting on his shirt, but consistent with what we see on the video, you described that he was coming at a fairly fast pace.
Yes.
You confirmed to officers that as he's walking over, you could actually see his hands.
Yes.
They asked you details about that observations, and you claimed you were able to describe that as his hands appeared to be clenched.
When I did notice him and he was close to me, yes, I did.
Actually, this is on the way over. And you confirmed that you didn't see any weapons.
I did not see any weapons.
You confirmed that he never moved towards your daughter.
He did not move towards my daughter.
You can confirm that at no point did he make a claim or a threat that he was actually armed.
He did not make a claim or a threat he was actually armed.
For example, if you move that snow, I will stab you with a knife that I have on me.
He never made that claim.
Or a screwdriver.
No.
And here's what we can, now get into this first chapter of when he actually reaches you. You stand up, correct?
That's correct.
This is after you making observations of his pace, of him putting stuff on and not holding anything, correct?
That is correct.
And your claim is that what he says is, if you put that fucking snow at the end of my fucking driveway, I'm going to kill you and your fucking family.
That is correct.
And you explain to the officers, look, this is not a memory issue, this isn't a sleep issue, that's exactly what he said.
That is correct.
And on this point, you're not confused or lacking any memory, correct?
That is correct.
You use the term verbatim. That means word for word, right?
That is correct.
And even at this point, where he's close to the truck, he doesn't make any gesture, any recognition that there's anybody, including your daughter, in the actual vehicle, correct?
No, he does not.
He doesn't reference your daughter specifically, correct?
That is correct.
He doesn't reference her name, right?
That is correct.
And this is the point where you're, quote, nose to nose.
Nose to cheek.
Cheek to cheek. And you say at this point, while you're face to face, nose to nose, you step back a little, you step forward, you step back, but kind of within that, I don't know, arm's length distance, correct?
That is correct.
You claim that he repeated, if you put the fucking snow in front of the house again, I'll fucking kill you.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's twice where he's referred to you needing to do something in the future for him to do something, correct?
That is correct.
And then he walks away, correct?
That is correct.
And now there's a distance of 15, 20 feet between the two of you, right?
I believe so. I believe there was another interaction before he walked that far away. If you'd like to reference the video on this, it'd be helpful.
And you described to the police officers the threats that were made about moving snow when you were face to face.
That is correct.
He then moves away from you, and you told the officers that, I don't know if he repeated it again, before he walked off. But he walked off, and then you described what he said. It's page 43, line 19. Got it?
Line 19.
Yeah, you said to the officers, then he walked, I don't know if he repeated it again after those 2 times. And then for some reason he stopped, turned around, he's walking away and said, and this is what you told officers, you don't fucking believe me. Right?
That's correct.
Just to be clear, you said that also at page 20. Lines 3 and 4. Oops. I'm sorry about that. Lines 3 and 4. You described it. You know how the detective looped back, asked you about a situation. So on line,
yes.
At page 20, you said again, he started to walk off, then he turned around again, and he's like, you don't fucking believe me.
That's correct.
All right. So 2 instances where you explained to the police what Mr. Violette supposedly said about, you don't believe me.
That's
In
correct.
neither of those claims to the police do you say he added, just independently, I'm going to fucking kill you. Right?
Not right there, but I think if we look further in it, you'll find that I did include that.
Absolutely. Look anywhere, because every single time you describe him actually making a threat, it's conditional.
That is incorrect.
Well, you have told the jury what he said was, you don't believe me? I'm going to fucking kill you. Right?
That's correct.
Unconditional threat.
Correct.
Problem is, you described to the police twice, not once, but twice,
Yeah.
this claim that he turned around and said, what, you don't believe me? And never once said he made an independent threat. Not once.
I don't know. I haven't looked through the whole thing, but I can assure you that he did say it.
You just didn't tell the police about it.
I don't know. I haven't looked through this whole transcript, but I can tell you he did say it, and I'm pretty sure it's probably in there. I've not looked through every page of it.
You're welcome to do that, but you agree with me, these are 2 instances where you specifically bring up that moment where he said, you don't believe me. And he did not add a standalone threat.
No, you're absolutely right. I didn't add that. Again, I was not completely coherent, awake, or remembering everything that's going on. I was doing my best to try and piece this together with them.
You described him having walked away. He gestures to the snow in front of your place. You agree that he's saying, don't move that over to my place, correct?
I believe so. Again, if you'd like to bring the video up and you want to talk about it, I'd have a better understanding of what point we're talking about.
You don't recall, you just described him walking away, correct?
Which he did multiple times, yes.
He actually walks away once, and then he turns back towards you, and that's the moment I want to talk about.
The first time, because he was up close to me, he walked a few steps back and then came back to me again.
Okay.
Are we talking about that time?
Yeah, no, that's the incident in front of the plow. Now when he walks, as I think I mentioned, probably 15 or 20 feet away.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same.
Got that?
Yeah.
Fair?
That's fair.
And at that point, you say he stopped, turned, and walked back towards you.
That is correct.
He took a couple of steps towards you.
I believe so, yes.
And you then, at this point, brandish that is produced and point at the firearm.
That is correct.
And you actually close the gap. You walk towards him with the firearm.
That is correct.
You made the claim to the police that you didn't walk towards him, but that wasn't true, right?
After seeing the video, that is what happened.
Okay.
Again, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was doing my best to help them.
Got it. So this is another mistake where it sort of helps your self-defense claim. You claim to the police, I didn't walk towards them, but in fact you did, correct?
I did. Correct.
And let's just be clear about this. We've all been here to watch this video, these videos, repeatedly, right?
Yes.
And you describe him having walked back to the front of his house and then turned and came back towards you. You drew
That
your
is incorrect.
firearm.
That is incorrect. He never walked to the front of his house. He never left the front of my house.
Okay, to the front of your house.
I mean, that's a big deal. It's a big difference. It's two different properties.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
You're right. So he makes it, as I think I previously said, about 15 or 20 feet away
That is correct.
and turns around. And you've agreed that you pull out the gun and you point it at him.
That is correct.
You're walking towards him.
That is correct.
But here's where things diverge in terms of what claims you've made. You made the claim to the police that when you pulled out the firearm, he actually hastened his pace towards you. Your words, right?
Again, I don't remember clearly what I said that night, and my memory of what happened was starting to piece things together.
Well, if
It
you
was
don't
not a
remember-
clear image.
Okay. If you don't remember what you said that night, let's turn to page 48. Line 10, line 9. When he started coming back at me again, I didn't want to I went and drew my firearm and I pointed at him. We clear on that?
Absolutely. Anything that's in here, I said.
Yeah. Even being tired, you remember that, correct?
Do I remember saying it?
Yeah.
No, I do not remember saying it.
Being tired, or now, do you remember that?
I do not remember saying that when I was tired.
Do you remember that happening?
Me drawing the firearm at him? Yes, I do.
Okay. And then you claimed to officers that at that point, that's when he came at me. He was coming back at me like he was ready to go.
That is correct.
You said he approached you after you drew the firearm to within 3 feet of you.
No, I might have said that then. Again, I didn't have a clear memory of it. After looking at the video, he was not within 3 feet of me.
After you pulled the firearm, you claim his hand was in.
I'm sorry, this is for the 3 feet.
Well, I'll get
Can
to
you
it.
give me the line?
Is there an objection? Your Honor?
Yeah, there's an objection.
What's that?
The objection.
Well, I'll give him an opportunity. I have no objection to redirect, and I'd like to come back to that.
Well, I will redirect and I'll ask him to withdraw the 3 feet quote unless I can get a page and line. I have a page and line number for a approximate distance, and this is not 3 feet, I guarantee that.
Sure. Let's move from this issue of what you observed him doing once you drew the firearm. Okay.
Okay.
You claim that he, as you just said, he was coming back at me like he was ready to go.
That is correct.
And like before, he was kind of, he had a hand in a fist. Now he was coming at me like he was going to attack me, or he was going to take the gun.
That is correct.
And that you claim happened after you drew the firearm.
That is correct.
You explained to the officer, he was asking, can you be more specific? And you said, well, you can just tell if somebody's going to attack you, right?
I would believe that's a reasonable assumption.
And You said that his hands were clenched in a fist, but he didn't have any weapon, correct?
That is correct.
And you claim that after drawing the gun, he kept coming at you at a pretty fast pace.
That's what I remembered at that time.
In fact, you claim that he actually quickened his pace once the firearm came out.
Again, that's what I remembered at that time, according to that statement.
And you said that you could see the look in his eye, and that's when you knew you had to shoot him.
That is correct.
Here's the problem. You've just been referring to the videotape.
Yep.
When you drew the gun before you fired, Kyle Violette stopped. He didn't quicken his pace, did he? You've seen the video.
After my gun was drawn and
Yeah.
just milliseconds before I pulled the trigger, yes, he did turn.
Not even milliseconds. You drew the gun back almost at the plow. You closed the distance by some 1, 2, 3 feet. And during that time, you turned away from him.
During that time, he was still approaching me. If you'd like to reference the video, I'd be more than happy.
We will. It's
Okay.
totally in evidence. But your claim is he was bum rushing you while you had the gun, right?
Never used the word bum rush. I don't even know what it means.
Did you see the video where, when at the evergreen tree, he stops and turns away, well before you fire the gun?
Again, I don't have a clear time reference, but I know it was extremely quick.
Did you see the video when Detective Daney was actually looking at frame by frame, and he says his feet are turned all the way 90 degrees before the shot went off?
I did hear his testimony, and yes, I did hear him say that.
Did you see the video? You were standing right here.
I did see the video.
And he was not facing you when you had the gun out.
When I fired, no, he was not facing me. However, like I said, the time, I don't know. Things move very quickly.
Well, we actually have real time in this video. So, I mean, the jury can count the seconds that went by after you took out the firearm, and they can make the determination whether Kyle stopped and how much you advanced on him pointing the weapon.
Sure. I welcome it.
You had been asked about your familiarity with this firearm. You actually took it to the range, correct?
That's correct.
You used to take Kira to the range.
That's correct.
You knew full well what this firearm was capable of doing.
That's correct.
And so, as he stops and turns, unarmed, you fired at him.
I did not see him turn. When I drew my firearm, it kind of all went blank.
Pardon me?
When I drew my firearm and I fired it,
Yeah.
it was blacked out. I don't remember.
You were blacked out?
I don't have a conscious memory of what happened.
You told the officers that that's when you pulled the trigger.
You're absolutely, that is what I said in that statement. And again, I'll tell you, I was tired. I was doing my best to try and piece together the information I had.
You told the officers that you ultimately pulled the trigger 6 times, correct?
That is correct.
Now, you didn't say, you know, I counted up the rounds afterwards, whether then I discovered it was empty. You described pulling the trigger and then emptying rounds. That was a conscious thought and statement you made on the 4th.
It did make that statement. I never said that I remember pulling the trigger that many times. I knew that I pulled the trigger that many times after I accounted for the bullets that were missing from the magazine.
Can you just turn to page 54?
Absolutely.
Line 11. This is after you pulled out the gun, Garston asks, so you start walking, he starts walking towards you? What happens next? As soon as I saw that look in his eye, I knew I had to protect my family, and I pulled the trigger. Yeah?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. You seem to have a memory of it there. You didn't stop and explain, no, I was kind of blacked out. I only inferred that I pulled the trigger. In fact, he asked, how many times did you pull the trigger? He said 6. So you fully emptied it? Yeah.
That's correct.
And you actually go on to describe. So the first one that I first shot, it hit him.
Again, I don't have a clear memory of what I told the officer. I know that I was blacked out at the time. I was trying to put together what I did have for information to try and help him.
Pardon me? What was that last part?
I was trying to put together the information I had to help him.
And you put together these details about Kyle responding to you taking out a gun with anger and aggression. Yeah?
That's correct.
That's your claim of what happened after you pulled out the gun?
That is correct.
You put together these details about Kyle advancing towards you, quickening his pace after you pulled out the firearm?
That is what I said in the statement. That's correct.
But it's not true, is it?
It's not what I saw in the video,
Yeah.
but this is what I remembered at the time. That is correct.
It's the claim you made, but you know it's not true, correct?
Like I said, what I saw in the video
Yeah.
is what I explained to you. What I saw here is what I was trying to remember.
Okay,
I was
let's
extremely tired.
Let's just be clear about this. What happened in the video is true, correct?
Absolutely.
What you claimed happened is not, correct?
Sure.
Right?
Yes. What is here does not seem to be what appears in the video.
That was a lie, what you told to the police.
No, that was me not remembering. Again, I was extremely tired. I was doing my best to help him.
Judge, can we approach?
Then we're going to take a 5-minute recess, just to stretch our legs, use the facilities. And we'll try back here in around 5 minutes if we can, so we can continue on. Okay? Very good.
Please rise.
You all doing? Thank you all. You want to be seated?
Please rise, jury entering. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bar can resume.
Thanks. Let me try and clear up this claim that you made. You said you pointed the firearm at him, and Mr. Violette continued to come at you at a fast pace.
I believe that's what I said there. That is correct.
So it's what you said, and you agree that that is not what is depicted on the video.
I do not believe I saw him approaching at a fast pace in the video. That's correct.
But just this distance piece, you claim that when you brought out the firearm, and this is at 49, line 21, that he was at 10 feet away. Correct?
Yes, that is what I said.
But that's the point you claimed when you brought out the firearm, and then you said he continued to close the distance by walking rapidly at you.
Where's that?
What's that?
Where is that?
That's what we were just talking about. First of all, you established about a 10-foot distance from when you pulled out the firearm, but you claimed to the police and to this jury that he continued to walk towards you, right?
I claimed that right there when I watched the video.
No, not right there. Repeatedly to the officer. You can see that at 48, line 13 or 14. He was coming back at me like he was ready to go after you drew the firearm. That's at 14, line 13.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so if we combine that at 49, you said it's 10 feet that you brought out the firearm, and he continued to walk it towards you at a very rapid rate before you fired it. He's about 3 to 5 feet away, according to your claim, to the police.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to back you up. I'm just confused as to what you're saying here. You just said 10 feet, now 3 to 5 feet.
You brought out the firearm, and you could read this for the jury. You brought out the firearm when he was 10 feet away.
That's correct.
How far away was he when the gun first came out? Is the question. Probably 10 feet.
I believe that to be accurate.
The police asked you, how did he react when the firearm came out? And you said he actually continued to come at me, quicken his pace, appeared like he was going to attack me. So if he's coming at you and quickening your pace from 10 feet away, you don't shoot the firearm until he's about 3 to 5 feet away from you. That was your claim. Like he's right on you.
Again, what was said here, I don't remember because it was that evening, and I was doing the best I could with what I could remember.
You would once again agree that that's not what the video depicts, correct? He's much further away.
I don't know where I said 3 to 5 feet.
That's when you actually shot him the second time, but I'm just doing basic,
I'm sorry.
distance and time.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about the first time I shot him.
We are. If you pulled out the gun at 10 feet and he continued to walk rapidly towards you before you fired, you must be about 5 feet away, right?
Can I just ask one favor real quick?
Yeah.
I would like to answer you as honestly as possible. If we could just kind of slow it down
Yeah, it's no problem.
and stick with one thing at a time.
Sure.
You were referencing the first time I shot him, and then you just jumped to the second time I shot him.
Sure.
So I want to make sure I'm giving you an accurate and honest answer.
My bad. You pulled out the firearm.
That is correct.
You pointed it at him.
I did.
He was about 10 feet away, according to your claim.
I believe so, yes.
After you pulled out the firearm from 10 feet away, he continued to advance on you rapidly.
That is what I stated here. However, after watching the video, that is not what I saw.
Okay. In fact, it's just not true what you said there.
What I saw in the video is not what I said here. That is correct. And I told you, I was trying to do the best I could with what I remembered.
I just want to make this clear. Your claim that after pulling the firearm out that he advanced on you rapidly and aggressively isn't true, correct?
Not from what I saw in the video. That is correct.
It is what you claimed happened to the police.
That is correct.
And so your claim was he quickened his pace, and that's why you actually had to fire the firearm.
That is what I said in the statement.
And that's not true.
Not from what I saw in the video.
You nevertheless fired the firearm after Mr. Violette stopped and turned away from you.
Yes, I did.
Your claim that you shot him as he was coming at you was not true.
He was coming at me.
You shot him when he had stopped and turned away from you.
Again, if we'd like to play the video and see the time elapse there, I mean, things are happening very quickly. We're not sitting in a courtroom in a perfect situation where things, you know, we're talking about something that happened very quickly. So the time that it was there, I'm not 100%.
But you've seen the video repeatedly along with us, and you'd agree with me.
I'd love to watch it with a timestamp so we can see how long that really was.
You know, the jury's going to have that.
Sure.
Our question for you, you know, without that, is whether you can adhere to the truth.
Absolutely.
Okay. You agree with me that Kyle Violette had stopped and turned before you fired the gun.
That is correct.
Okay. And so your claim that he was coming at you was a lie.
He was coming at me. You're talking in a matter of 2 seconds, a second and a half maybe. I don't know. But what I saw unfolding in front of my eyes, the exact second that he turned and the firearm fired, we're talking milliseconds, maybe a second. So I'm sorry that I misstated it in the statement to the police. Everything happened very quickly, and I was doing my best to try and help explain the situation.
You'd agree with me that you shot Kyle in the side of the head, or the front part of his head and his jaw.
From the evidence that we saw, there was a shot that happened. When it happened, I have no clue.
You don't have any idea where you shot him?
I have no idea when I shot him where.
You told the police that the next 5 shots went into the lower part of his body.
I believe they did.
And that actually happened to be, for the most part, true. You shot him in the buttocks, the genitals, the abdomen, correct?
I believe so.
And let's then talk about your claims about why you shot him 5 more times. The detective asked you, was it your intention to kill him? And your answer was, no, just to stop him. And this concerns the next 5 rounds.
And that is correct. I've never wanted to kill anybody.
And you explained to the detective that you just wanted to stop him because after shooting him once in the head, it didn't stop him. That was your claim.
Again, if it's in here, that is what I told the detective.
And that's a lie.
That was me not knowing. That was me trying to help somebody. Did I purposefully lie? No, I did not. Did I maybe give misinformation because I couldn't put it together correctly in my head? That would be more likely.
You described in detail the effect that first shot to his head had. That you said, I think it affected him as in he heard the shot, but it didn't stop him. You agree you said that? It's page 111, 6 through 8.
If it's in here, then I said it. However, is it what I remember? I don't remember what I said to them that evening.
Well, does this help your memory that is what you in fact said?
It does not help my memory.
Would you agree that was what you did say, based on what you see, is an absolute lie?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, you claimed that the first shot didn't seem to affect him. That was a lie.
That's what I remembered, or I tried to piece together. What we saw in the video, that is incorrect.
You said the first shot didn't seem to stop him. That was a lie.
What I remembered was incorrect.
You, nevertheless, not remembering in this interview, continued to give detailed accounts of his reaction. it didn't hurt him.
But that's correct. Whatever's in here is what
You
I said.
claimed at the time that you did, in fact, have a memory of an observation. You said he flinched.
Again, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember it's him flinching.
The detective asked you, does he stay on his feet after that first shot? And you were able to give an answer. Not, I don't remember. Not, I'm tired. Not, I'm confused. You said, yeah, he stayed on his feet.
That is correct. That's what I said.
Your claim was not that you didn't remember how he reacted, but that he flinched and that he was still heading towards you after you shot him in the head.
I don't believe. Where does it say I shot? I said I shot him in the head.
You didn't say it. Let's keep it that after the first shot, which shot him in the head, that he was still heading for you. Page 56, line 20. You know, let me be fair to you. I feel like I've misspoken. Garson at 13, does he stay on his feet? Your answer is, yeah. Well, when the first shot, his question goes off, and you said he turned, which way did he turn? So you mean he counterclockwise or clockwise, you ask, like which direction was he turning? So he turned, he was still heading for me. And then he started going back towards his house. That's after you shot him. He didn't continue towards you, did he?
What we saw in the video, he did not continue towards me. Again,
You were willing to describe to the officer that he was continuing to head towards you. And you actually gave the explanation. That's why I fired the rest of the shots. That's at page 134.
Again, I don't remember what I said here. What I was trying to do was use the best of what I had for a memory of the situation and piece the things together.
Now let's just go to page 134, line 2. You actually give a detailed account. Garson's asked, I'm more concerned about what happened with these next 5 shots. You answer at line 4. The first shot didn't seem to stop him or to hurt, to stop him. That's why I fired the rest of the shots.
And then it says I don't. Again, I don't remember. I didn't remember. I was trying to piece together what I thought was what happened.
Well, you went on actually to say, let's follow up on it. I don't. Where was his body positioned on those next 5 shots? There you say he was on the ground, but that's only after he presents you with the video, correct?
I said that I believe he's on the ground. I don't see anywhere something what we're being presented with the video.
But before he said anything about the video, you said he was still on his feet, correct?
Again, I didn't have a clear memory. That's why I offered the video to help clear things up. I thought we could go over the video so we could all work on it together and see exactly what transpired.
You were specifically asked at 56 whether he stayed on his feet, and you said, yeah, he was still heading towards me. He took a couple of steps, and that's why you unloaded the gun. Your words, unloaded, at page 57.5.
And yes, that is what I said there.
And you didn't say anything about him crawling away on the ground, right?
Again, I did not have a perfect memory of the situation.
Well, not just not perfect. You said he was walking towards you, that he, after the first shot, took a couple steps towards you, and that's why you had to shoot him 5 more times.
Again, what I said here
Yeah.
is what I was trying to remember at the time.
And that at this point, you said the 5 additional rounds, you were standing 3 to 5 feet away, correct?
I don't know, where does it say 3 to 5 feet?
57, line 14.
So, yeah, I mean, When I was standing, when I fired the last 5 shots, I believe I was probably about 5 feet away.
Yeah, and the reason you were 5 feet away is because you originally shot him from a distance away. You put the gun down, so there's absolutely no risk to you or anybody else, and you took probably 4 or 5 steps to close that distance, so you were 3 to 5 feet away, and that's when you unloaded 5 rounds on him, correct?
Correct, when he was going towards my steps.
I'm sorry. Your claim to the jury is with crawling on the ground with a headshot, that he continued to be a threat because he was crawling towards your porch?
That's the direction he was going, that's correct.
My question was, are you claiming to the jury that Mr. Violette was a threat, a lethal threat to you and your family when he was on the ground crawling away from you?
He was crawling towards my house, yes.
Maybe I'm confusing this question. My question to you is, was he a lethal threat to you and your family when he was crawling on the ground with a headshot?
At the time, that was my belief. And I did not know he had a headshot. I told you I don't know where the rounds hit.
You'd agree that he did not remain standing, correct?
Correct.
Your claim that he was a lie?
Again, we're referencing this, which I told you I don't remember. I was doing my best at the time to help them piece things together.
In fact, you did not tell the police that he was crawling away. You said he continued to advance towards you, and that's why you shot him 5 more times. And even then, your claim is he didn't go to the ground. Is that page 58, line 1?
Again, I was trying my best with what I remembered to help them. That's why I offered the video, because I didn't have a clear memory. I'm trying to help you understand that.
I'm trying to help the jury understand your claims at the time to the police to create a self-defense scenario. You claimed that you shot him once and he continued at you, and that's why you had to shoot him again.
Again, what it says here is what I said to the police.
And it was a lie.
It was not a purposeful lie. It may not have been what happened because I didn't have a clear memory.
You claim that after shooting him in the face, he came towards you. You shot him 5 times in the body, and he remained standing, held his abdomen, and that's when he walked back towards his house.
I never claimed I shot him in the face.
That he's holding his abdomen.
I did claim that. However, I never claimed I shot him in the face.
And that whole image, that detailed image you provided of him coming at you after he'd been shot, taking 5 rounds, and merely holding his abdomen and turning and walking away is also a complete and utter lie.
At the time, it's what I remembered, so that's what I told them.
Your claim here is that, the difference, the gap between him coming at you and him crawling away, bleeding on the street, page 16, Exhibit 16, you'd agree that that is the blood trail that he left from you shooting him.
That's correct.
And this factual gap between him coming at you and him crawling away, it's just your memory that night because you were tired.
That is correct.
Your claim is that you were not trying to create perception from the police that this was a justified shooting by making that stuff up.
I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
Talking about the claims you made that have no basis in reality and the reason why you were making those claims.
I was making those claims to try and help piece together the situation to help the police.
Isn't it easier that you were making those claims to piece together a so-called self-defense claim?
I didn't know what a self-defense claim was that evening.
Except that you explained to the officers that because he was coming at you, I needed to protect myself and my family. That was a lie, but it's self-defense, isn't it?
That is not a lie. That is exactly what I was thinking. I'm sorry, I'm not an attorney. I don't know what a self-defense claim consists of
You think
until
you
I
need to
started
be an
this process.
attorney to know whether somebody's crawling away, dying?
Well, now we're talking about something different. Now we're talking about somebody crawling away, dying. You just said a self-defense claim. I can only answer the questions you're giving.
Sure, but you use the actual terms of I needed to shoot him, in order to protect myself and my family.
That is correct.
Okay. Except that he wasn't really coming at you anymore, right?
When?
When you pulled out the gun before you shot him, he wasn't coming at
He
you.
was coming at me when I pulled out the gun.
He wasn't coming at you anymore after you shot him in the head and he started crawling back towards his house.
Again, I don't know when I shot him in the head.
He wasn't coming at you when he was on the ground crawling away from you before you emptied 5 rounds into his body.
That is correct.
He wasn't walking away holding his abdomen after you shot him 5 times.
That is correct.
All of those claims were lies, correct?
All of those claims were what I believed happened that night. As we saw in the video, that is not what happened.
I may have a moment. Thank you, Your Honor. Those were my questions.
Thank you very much.
Can I actually just have a moment? I just want to gather some of my materials. Thank you. Sorry.
Jason, let me ask you a few things that you definitely remember, okay?
Yes.
Would it be accurate and true that Kyle initiated the contact with you?
That is correct.
Any doubt at all?
There's no doubt in my mind.
And when he initiated that contact with you, did he threaten you and your family?
Yes, he did.
I ask you whether it's true that Violette stuck his face right into your face.
That is true.
Okay, now, if you were fabricating a self-defense, let me ask you this. We got to see the video, right?
That is correct.
Do you remember even telling the police that he stuck his very flesh on your flesh that night?
That I don't remember.
Right. But if you were fabricating a really good self-defense, that'd be a cool thing to tell him, wouldn't it?
I guess I'm not sure what a self-defense really is completely, so.
But the fact of the matter is in the video, it is extremely clear that he touched you with his face, right?
That is correct.
Did police ever ask you whether or not he literally touched his body to your body?
I can't be 100% certain.
Did you take that as a threat when he did it?
I absolutely did.
And isn't it true, and do you have a clear recollection, that Violette appeared out of control and agitated?
Yes, that is true.
And is that what you told the police?
I believe so, yes.
Now, there's been some cross-examination. I think there's been a little confusion, and I want to straighten it out a little for you. There's a reference to the October or November incident. Remember, you were being cross-examined by the prosecutor at the beginning of his cross-examination, and he referred you to page 142 and 143. And I'll ask you to
Yeah. Hold on just a moment, please.
get those up for yourself. Let's give the jury the totality of what we're talking about, the little snippets, okay?
Okay.
Now, you remember the October event clearly, don't you?
Yes.
You remember that without any question, right?
Yes.
And let's see what we got here. Detective Garson's asking you, I guess 6, 7, 8, what was happening back then?
Yes.
And then you give an answer, and it starts on line 10, right?
Yes.
Why don't you tell the jury what you told the detective with regard to your recollection of the October 2023 incident?
I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. Did you want me to read this?
I do.
Okay. It says, I said, right. So, I mean, I was standing out pressure washing the front of my house. It was, I want to say it was fall, but it doesn't seem like it's been long since that happened. But again, time flies, right? Anyway, in the past few months, we'll say, there's only been one day I was out front pressure washing the house. And this guy came out of the driveway next door at 43 Summer Street, yelling and screaming at me, telling me I'm a rat, and I called the cops on him, and he was going to fucking kill me and my fucking family.
Okay, stop right there. He says that you called the cops on him, right?
That's what I said, yes.
And that he was going to fucking kill you and your family.
That is correct.
There's not a conditional threat there, is it?
No. I don't believe conditional. I'm not really one of
All right,
those.
it's a threat, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, why don't you go on?
I don't even know who he is. I'm assuming he probably lived there because he came from that driveway, but I've never seen him before.
Okay, so you're telling the detective that in that incident, you didn't even know who he was, right?
That is correct.
And you were assuming he was your next door neighbor, right?
That is correct.
But it goes on, right? And then Garson says, yeah, and then on line 25, you continue. What do you say?
I have no knowledge of him or anything.
And Garson says, you don't even know his name.
And I said, no clue.
Right, now we're talking about October, right? Right?
October, November, yes.
And you didn't know his name then.
No, I did not.
You assumed he was your neighbor, right?
That is correct.
Okay, keep going. No clue, and what does Garson say?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you say,
I never had an interaction with him at all, ever in my life.
you're talking about the October incident, correct?
Objection leading.
Correct.
Objection leading.
I'm sorry. What incident are you?
To be complete, I'm not actually sure.
Garson says, yeah, right?
Right.
And then you say, what do you say then?
And I said, I wouldn't be able to pick him if you said, here's 3 people, pick one of them as your neighbor. I honestly wouldn't be able to pick him. I had never seen him before.
All right. Now, by April 4th, you had seen him before, right?
Objection leading.
Had you seen him prior to April? Sorry. Had you seen him prior to April 4th?
One other time,
And when was that?
October or November.
Now, there's definitions of lies, there's definitions of mistakes, there's definitions of inaccuracies. Did you intentionally intend to deceive the police department when you sat down voluntarily to give a statement on April 4th into April 5th, 2024?
Absolutely not.
And again, what were you trying to do?
I wanted to help them figure out what went on.
And was one of those helping things the video?
Absolutely. My memory, like I said, I was tired. My memory wasn't completely clear. I figured with the video and with me, we could get through and find out exactly what happened and clear, so we had a clear picture of what happened.
Okay. Now, you've gotten to see some of the videos, right?
Yes, I have.
Can you assure the jury that it was a quick situation that night?
Absolutely.
Were you making measurements or timing anything or anything like that?
No, I was not. It happened very quickly.
And in your position that you were at the time, were you in a situation where you could make clear calculations?
No, I was not.
The prosecutor asked you to speculate as to whether or not Violette made any actions or said anything toward your daughter, right?
Objection to characterization. I didn't ask him to speculate. I asked him to testify whether he saw it.
Okay, did you see whether or not he did anything towards your daughter?
I did not see him do anything towards my daughter.
But where was your daughter?
She was in the truck.
How far away was your daughter from Violette?
At which point,
At the time he came up and stuck his nose on your cheek.
I would say approximately 6 feet, maybe 8 feet, the distance of a vehicle from one side to the other.
And was she in the front seat?
She was in the front seat.
Was there a clear glass windshield in the front of the truck?
There was.
Can you see through it?
There was. Yes, you could. I mean, I believe I wasn't facing that direction, so I guess I believe you could, but I didn't look that way.
Were you concerned for her safety at that time?
Absolutely.
The video camera questioning that you had with the prosecutor, you got new video cameras after the October event, correct?
Correct. The digital video, closed circuit ones. I did have some Wi-Fi ones before that.
And why did you get the digital ones? This is to make sure we're clear on the problem.
Because I was having issues with the connectivity with the Wi-Fi cameras. I've actually had to get a new router system that for some reason those cheap cameras don't always connect or they don't record events. So it just wasn't consistent.
And why did you want them to be consistent and accurate?
In case there was another incident, then if I had to go to the police or whatever, I would have proof of what happened instead of it was he said, she said.
And that was a specific reaction, was it?
That was.
Were you trying your best to remember things at the police station?
I was.
Were you willing to go over anything they wanted to go over with you?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just briefly. Concerning this, your ability to claim who was making this threat 6 months earlier. I want to continue to follow up on 36. You're going to approach your honor. This is page 143. You confirmed that whoever made the threat, you'd never had any interactions with them before, and yet Kyle Violette had been living there for about 1.5 years. Correct?
I don't know.
You said whoever that person was out there, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. Correct?
Yes.
You said, and that's even assuming he is my neighbor. Whoever made the threat back in October, you didn't know who they were.
I was saying I didn't know if that person was my neighbor.
The attorney sister just asked, geez, if you were, trying to tee up a self-defense claim, wouldn't you have included that he actually had physical contact with your face? Remember him asking you that?
Again, this self-defense claim, I'm not sure. I don't understand that. I don't get what the basis would be or how I develop one. I don't understand how the law works like that. So when you keep referencing that, I want to make sure I'm giving you an honest answer and complete. So
Sure.
Is there any other way you can work so maybe I can understand
Yeah,
better
I
so
guess
can give you a good answer?
let's talk about your understanding of self-defense.
Sure.
You own a firearm.
Yes,
It's not a hunting weapon.
that's correct.
You described to this jury that the reason you take this firearm to work is because you were threatened with a machete.
That is correct.
That would be so if something like a machete wielder came at you again, you'd be able to defend yourself.
That is correct.
That's self-defense.
You said self-defense claim.
Yeah, the claim would be somebody came at me with a machete but never did. Okay, that's a claim. That's a false claim of self-defense. All right.
That did happen, though.
Yeah, I don't contest that. A claim of self-defense would be something like, Kyle Violette continued to come after me even after I pointed a weapon at him. That would be a false claim of self-defense because he actually stopped. It was no longer a threat. That would be the claim. Okay?
If that's what you want to say. Again.
Does that make sense to you?
So you're explaining that's what the claim
I'm asking you, does that make sense to you?
I believe so.
Does it make sense to you that a claim of self-defense would include something like, I shot him, but didn't affect him at all. He may have flinched.
That was me not having a clear memory.
Okay. Would you understand this to be a false claim of self-defense, that I shot him and he continued to come at me when he really didn't? Does that make sense to you?
Again, that was me trying to remember and having a false memory while I was trying to construct what happened.
Would it make sense to you, a false claim of self-defense, that somebody was on the ground crawling away from you and you claim that they were actually coming at you? Do you understand that as a false claim of self-defense?
Again, I understand what I said in here. I was giving it the best representation I could at the time.
And just, to get down to a more narrower point, Attorney Sisti asking you whether you had included in your claim, because if you were trying to confabulate a self-defense claim, you would have included that he touched your face, that he touched you physically, right? Okay. Remember him asking you that?
Again, I don't remember if anybody asked me that.
Okay. Let me just make it simple then and confirm. You did tell the police, this is page 40, line 14, 15, because he was literally, his nose was touching my face.
I believe when Attorney Sisti asked me, I said I was not sure.
Okay. And here it is. You did, in fact, make that claim.
Absolutely.
You did not omit that. That really did happen, correct?
That did happen.
You weren't too tired to omit it. You weren't too confused to omit it, correct?
Omit? I don't know.
Omit, not state it.
I'm
40,
not, can you?
14, 15.
Again, I'm not sure what you're asking me right at the moment.
Well, I'm asking you right now.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so that being, you touched your face with his nose, correct?
Yeah, I did say that.
And let me just make this really clear. When Kyle was in that original wingspan in front of your truck,
Yes.
making these threats about snow,
Yes.
you didn't shoot him, right?
No, I did not.
It was only after you claimed he was coming after you, despite brandishing your gun, that you shot him.
So, that is correct.
It was only after that he continued to come after you, after the first shot, that you put 5 more rounds on him when he was standing and increasing his pace towards you.
Again, that's not what happened we saw from the video.
But it's
what
right.
I said in here was what I remembered at the time, and I was trying to help with what I had from memory, which obviously was not correct.
Well, it was actually a lie, wasn't it?
If you'd like my definition of a lie, that's purposely not telling the truth. What I was trying to do was take whatever memories I had and piece them together with the detectives to try and figure out what happened.
And just finally, can you confirm that it was in fact Detective Garston that brought up any video associated with that night of it?
I was the first one to bring up cameras at the house. Then he asked me if he could have access to them.
Okay. So early in the conversation, you said that you had a video back in October, correct?
That is correct.
And then later in the conversation, and by the way, when you brought up that there was video, you didn't suggest to him, hey, take a look at this video to come to a better understanding about what happened, right?
I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but I'm sure we can read it in the testimony.
In fact, it's at page 66, line 18, that it was the detective who asked, are there any cameras to cover this incident tonight, correct?
That's correct, and I said yes.
He brought it up, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
Detective Garston brought it up, correct?
He did ask me that question, that's correct.
Thank you.
He asked you the question, you said you could have.
That is correct.
But he didn't have the answer.
Leading, I think it's beyond the scope of...
Beyond the scope, it is leading.
Correct.
What did you tell him after that?
I said yes, he could have them, and I gave him the passwords for them.
I think Attorney Barr reiterated something that's actually true. you accurately and distinctly, without any question, remember telling the police that
Dr. Foreman, Your Honor.
that Kyle Violette touched you with his face.
What's the judgment? That's right.
Touched you with his face.
Yes, it did say that in there that I said that to the police.
Great. Thank you very much. This witness can be excused. Should we take a break this morning, or we take a brief recess?
We'll take a brief recess, folks, and we'll be right back.
Please rise.